Welcome back to another episode of Transcending the Rabbit Hole. We hope all of you have had a peaceful holiday season. And we've been on pause since late November, moving through the holidays, through the noise, and through the long nights of winter. And it felt important not to rush back, not to force a reset. So we're easing back into things by honoring the winter season. This episode is about the wisdom of winter, not in the sense of calendar time, but as a lived psychological and spiritual season. Annelise and Parker, it's a privilege to transcend this rabbit hole with you guys.
Hey, Brandy, it's so good to be back.
Yeah, how was your holiday? Did you get some rest and recharge during that holiday season?
Yeah, I sure did. It was a busy season for sure, like Thanksgiving and Christmas with young kids, it's pretty intense, but we had fun and we got to do a lot of cool new things and we had one thing we did in particular I'll say for Annalise because I'll tell the whole thing if I don't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you left out what we did this winter break. Okay. Yeah, it was good. It's been both wonderful and heart-wrenching at the same time. It's definitely been a season of massive inner transformation and wintering in a way I haven't done quite before. Personally, this has been a true winter of the soul for me and a deep untangling of letting go of old identities, beliefs, and roles and really stepping into who I really am. But it's been kind of painful in the inner world, but wonderful. So I have felt very reflective of Mother Nature, which I think we all are, and we all feel it to some degree. But something that's kept me really grounded during this kind of inner work season is our dog had surprise puppies the week before Christmas.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah. So our Christmas, or excuse me, our winter break turned from hibernation and rest and relaxation into raising a litter of puppies. And we've got 10. And Brandy has been the best friend to have in this because
Yes.
she has a long history of raising bulldogs and breeding. But we're all in it. And I'll give a quick plug here. If you're in the Southeast and you need a Great Pyrenees mixed puppy and you're a loving home, you find me and we might talk about it. Truly,
Uh,
truly. They're precious though, and they've kept us grounded and helped me not get lost in my soul too much.
yeah. I always say
Yeah,
puppies are proof that God loves us. They are
they
little gifts for
are.
sure. Yeah.
They are. They're a
Absolutely.
they're a miracle. They're beautiful. But besides that, we just did the holidays. Uh Our son got a tooth pulled. That was fun. Just those kind of things, and tried to hibernate while juggling all the things.
Yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of energy shifting I've felt over the break, it's been a lot of like emotional pulls. It's been a lot of shedding of or old selves, I really feel that, you know, we'll get into that later, but I really do feel like this year in particular is just a transformational type of year for the masses or just a lot of people in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel that too. And I think winter in general is just the time of year to pull people inward, where you start to feel things break loose, old things shedding. And like you said, we'll get into it more, but there are also other components right now this year during winter that are kind of intensifying, I think, that feeling that there's something about to break, something is about to shift significantly. Yeah. And Annalise, the puppies, they always go into labor during holidays or in the middle of the night or at the least convenient time. So it's no mistake. Yeah, there's no mistake that you were sent surprise Christmas puppies.
You know what? We had no idea she was pregnant, and that's what made it so funny is because it was so much like Mother Mary just having these divine puppies right before Christmas, and there's no room at the inn. We had no idea this was happening, and I text you, and you're like, "You've probably got 24 hours." And, it's been transformative, but
Great, yeah.
yeah, it's been very grounding and very loving. They're just so pure. They've just got such a presence, and it's been a reminder to come home to that same presence.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Puppies, I mean, just to sit with puppies, just to soak them in that's a spiritual practice in and of itself. I would be working my hiney off, so tired, so stressed, and I could just sit down in the middle of the whelping box with all the puppies and just breathe them in, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm okay again. I can do this. Life is okay." Yeah.
No joke. I will be honest. I was having a wintering mental breakdown for a moment one night. And I needed that love. And I went and I got in their pen and we just snuggled until I was okay. And then I took all that love with me and went to bed. And it was so healing.
Oh. Puppy breath. If you could bottle it up, I'm telling you, you could make a fortune.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But no joke. Contact us if you love little Great Pyrenees mixes. Okay. And moving
Yeah.
on. What about you, Brandy? How was your winter break?
Yeah, it was good. Every year, I resist that collective momentum of ramping up, like all of that activity during the holidays. So for me, it was really a time of intentionally unplugging, like doing very little shopping, very little gathering. So it was nice to just focus on writing and reflecting and resting. And I'm still kind of in that flow. So I'm trying to ease myself back into the rhythm of productivity gradually. So maybe by spring, I'll be ready to fully engage the world again. Maybe. I don't know. So yeah, for the past couple years, I have really resisted that urge or that collective momentum rather to, do all of the activities and do all of the things. I really feel like this time of year is a time to rest and relax and go within, do shadow work. So even though I am writing, which is kind of a productive endeavor, I'm only writing as I feel inclined to write. So it's a very slow and steady process for me right now.
That's great.
That's great.
Yep.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I told my loved ones, I'm hibernating this winter. Don't ask me to come to anything. Don't ask me to do anything. Don't ask me to do any project. Nothing, because I finally recognized that too. If I don't slow down with
Yeah.
winter, I'm going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And what you said about spring, that's when the new year really is for the earth.
Mhm.
So that makes sense that you're ready to come out in spring with the little birdies and bears. And, that's how we all should be, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. And I think, like today we were going to talk about winter and wintering well. And so I thought that would be a great place to kick us off. Just the winter solstice, right? Because winter has become so distorted in the Western world. We've collectively lost touch with the natural rhythms and cycles of life, just like you were saying, Annalise. Just as all of nature begins to draw inward, like the animals are hibernating, the plants are dying, days are going darker, all of that. Society just ramps up activity, like a consumerist frenzy, in fact. All of the shopping and the lights and the activities, it's just overstimulation for sure. So it's really no wonder we see an increase in depression and suicide rates also this time of year during winter, especially during the holidays, because it's a time when we should be resting and withdrawing, and it's distorted into a season of mass consumerism and overextending. And you can't push against the grain of reality without suffering the consequences.
Yeah.
That is it. You can't push against it without suffering consequences.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
true. And, the ancient cultures believe the same thing that we are talking about now, with winter being a time of stillness and rebirth and renewal, and not really about hustle and bustle and all this other stuff that, like you're saying, has our
Yeah.
spiritual selves and bodies kind of misaligned because before, you know, Christmas holiday, like the consumerism part of it, like I said, ancient people celebrated these solstices for introspective meaning. This wasn't like
Mhm.
a holiday. This was like a introspective meaning for the earth and for yourself
Yeah.
spiritually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like a gestation, not a performance. It's like they
Mhm.
knew we're part of Earth. We are Earth. We're all one. And so we need to do what those seasons are doing and honor the spirit within, just like the sun is doing. And I know we're probably about to dive into that, just like
Yeah.
the similarities in the winter solstice and the story of the birth of Jesus and all of
Mhm.
that. But I was impressed this year. Our son came home with a whole thing about the winter solstice, and he had to write a write up about it. And I was
Oh,
glad because I was never taught about that in school.
yeah.
I was taught with the wrong calendar that we follow that's against nature. So
Yeah.
I was happy
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I'll say, the winter solstice, it just marks the longest night and the shortest day of the year in the northern hemisphere.
Mhm.
For anybody who didn't know that, so
Yeah.
just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, thank you, Parker. And also, I like that you pointed out, Annalise, that people were connected to the earth, and that's really the difference. I think today people are so disconnected, not just from nature, from the earth itself, but from themselves,
Yeah,
and so everyone is just running around, just totally disconnected from the rhythms of life.
Mhm.
But yeah, the ancient peoples, they knew how connected they were to the
Mhm.
trees and to the soil and how interconnected we all are as a people.
yeah,
And so they just naturally followed those rhythms. They paid attention to to the seasons,
Yeah.
right.
to the cyclical changes, temperature, weather, all of those things. So yeah, I think it's to our detriment that we live so
Mhm.
disconnected from the earth.
Absolutely. In ancient cultures, they like Stonehenge and like in Machu Picchu and places like that, they have temples built to the solstices. So these people, like, it just goes back that far, where
Yeah.
they'll build a whole temple to where the sun like rises to that point on the day, and it's like the only point that the sun will shine through that box is on that solstice day.
Yeah.
That's just, I mean,
Yeah.
they revered that day for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, because the winter solstice in the traditional season, very everything else just kinda got layered onto it, right?
Right.
Because it is such a sacred season. It was like the season, like you're saying, Parker, but all of our other traditions just sort of got dumped into that one slot. They have the Yule log and the cedar trees, and all of that is just to honor the darkest night of the year, and to await the return of the sun. So you can see how that kind of layers into Christmas. So traditionally, it was about withdrawing, staying indoors, because the winter solstice is a time when the veil between the spirit realm and the physical realm is also very thin, and that's something we don't hear anything about either.
Mm-mm.
And I think it's in one of the Christmas songs where there's something about that you'll hear what ghost stories from long ago,
Mhm.
and all of my life, I thought, "Why are they mentioning ghost stories in the middle of this Christmas tune?" It just didn't make any sense, but now I know it's because this time of year, the winter solstice, is supposed to be a time of thin veils, and spirit,
Mhm.
activity is ramped up, and the connection with spirit was so strong for these ancient peoples, they really had more interaction with their ancestors during this time of year, and there were actual warnings, like, not to go into the woods at night during the winter solstice because of the increased spirit activity. It was like, "Oh, it's dangerous," and if you see a lantern in the woods or if you hear someone calling out to you, don't go check it out during the winter solstice. Stay inside, burn the Yule log, and stay warm and stay safe. So I thought that was interesting. That's something that's completely lost, yeah, in modern
Oh, yeah.
culture.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's demonized as paganism.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
like, in my world, my religious conditioning, I was taught to fear darkness and that anything that related to, like, solstice things was pagan, which was evil, which was never understanding pagan was just the spiritual practice of the people before Christianity was invented. And
Yeah.
Christianity was layered on top of paganism and its holidays and its solstices. And it's not that Christmas isn't special or that Christmas can't be celebrating Christ, but it's very layered. And I'm glad we're going to get into it because I want to help people get back to being in rhythm with nature. Because if you can fall in rhythm with nature, the spirit can live through you so much better and you will suffer so much less.
Yeah, that's so true because Christmas did get just superimposed over the winter solstice because the winter solstice was, like I said, the most sacred time of year, centered around that returning of the light, the rebirth of the sun. So you can see they
Mm,
just sort of took that and fused it with Christ as the light of the world. And then Santa Claus, I don't know, that was like a later European edition that kind
yeah.
of just got mixed in with everything else. So today we have this mishmash of all these traditions under one umbrella of Christmas. And no one really knows when Jesus was born conclusively, but most scholars do agree that it was in the spring, so nowhere
Mhm.
Mhm.
near December 25th.
No.
And most of what we call Christmas today really just has nothing to do with honoring the true spirit of the winter solstice or Christ for that matter. I mean, people are just running up credit cards, buying
Mm,
expensive toys for kids who already have everything they could want.
Yeah.
All
mhm.
the parties, consumerism, fancy decorations, and I don't know, it's nuts. It, to me, feels misaligned with everything that, is Christian, if, is Christ-like,
Right.
during this season. So, yeah, something about it just doesn't,
It doesn't sit right.
it
It
doesn't
doesn't
sit
sit
right with
right
me,
anymore.
yeah.
I feel the same way. It has nothing to do with Jesus just about anymore, nothing to do with your spirit almost. It's about just feeding the system
Mm,
and making you be hyped up when you're supposed to be resting and hibernating, doing what the seeds are doing. Get not making goals, but getting ready to grow out and explode with potential and purpose in the spring, which, like you said, that was Jesus's most likely birthday based on the stars, based on just history. And everything I found, I feel like it's narrowed down to around June, late spring maybe,
yeah.
and that would make so much more sense because he would have mirrored the rhythms of nature too,
Mm,
and and he that's the beginning of life. That's the beginning of the new year. Really, is around April 1st, which just so happens to be my birthday. So I think that's fun. I'm a fool, April Fool, but yeah, I think exposing that, like just shining a light on this, like how we've kind of been deceived unintentionally by most, but intentionally by some. It's all on purpose and it's all turned around so that your nervous system just stays jacked up as it can possibly be. So that you are better food, better loosh for 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 all that benefit from it.
yeah.
Yeah, to get back to, the Christmas and the winter solstice and all that stuff, the date of Christmas is overlaid onto, you know, existing solar festivals already, uh,
And birthdays of other
and
gods
and birthdays of other
or
gods.
highly held figures.
It all dates back to the Roman Empire, the solar holidays for the Roman Empire. And when the Roman Empire took over and had to convert people into the new religion, it was just easy enough to put Christmas as Saturnella, Sol Invictus, because they were already celebrating on those days as it was. And it's just easier to overlay something and have it absorbed, as time goes on. And that's what happened. Like these holidays were Roman, like Roman holidays before they became the church. So just everything we've told you in the first season is like this just carries over. So yeah, this goes back to that. The calendar goes back to the Romans, all kinds of things.
Yeah, we'll get
Yeah.
into that, right, about how the calendar's been changed
Hmm.
Yeah.
just to keep us out of alignment, just to keep
Yeah.
us just
Yeah.
frazzled at all times. Okay, good, good. Because this is
Yeah.
stuff you don't get told at church. And
Right.
and it's very important. You don't get told this anywhere. This is just
Eh,
so, for some reason, not mainstream. So I'm glad
yeah.
we're talking about it.
Yeah, because like you're saying, Parker, everything just got superimposed over what existing holidays and existing celebrations and feasts and things like that. And because we're so far removed from that now in current modern day times, people just don't know.
Yeah, it's been
Like
absorbed.
traditionally, people did know. They were like, okay, this is the time of winter solstice, but we are celebrating Christmas. But they understood the distinction. They understood, I guess the root of these holidays. I mean, but today people don't even understand the root of it. They have no idea that that it does align back with other feasts and festivals and celebrations. And in churches, even there's something really misaligned about how Christmas gets celebrated and handled in a lot of churches. I think, and particularly the larger ones. Um, because what is meant to like commemorate the birth of Jesus, which is an event rooted in obscurity, vulnerability, stillness, it often gets turned into a big production cycle. It
Yeah.
stretches over like many days. Like I know I attended a church where the services were like for the whole week. Leading up to Christmas, there were multiple services at multiple times, and there's live music, and there's lights, and there's fog machines, and there's all these, tight schedules with the staff running on fumes. I've heard the preacher say that, like, after the Christmas holiday, even Easter is treated that way. But after all of those multiple services, it's like, oh, I have to take, a break. I have to take a vacation so that I can rest from all of that work. I just, I don't know. I think perhaps a more meaningful way to celebrate the birth of Jesus would be to just stop all that activity and that entertainment and drop into stillness and allow allow Christ to be born in our hearts. I think that
Yeah.
would be a lot more aligned.
Preach on, because Christ is born, or Christ consciousness emerges like in the hidden places, in the
Yeah,
darkness. And and Jesus was born into darkness, humility, vulnerability. But
right.
but I think it's really strange and interesting how Easter and Christmas, so like the birth and the resurrection, they're flip-flopped because the solstice reflects the uh kind of the rise of Christ, and then the descending, the 3 darkest nights of the year, the 3 longest nights of the year. That's Jesus in the tomb, 3 nights of the
Mhm.
year, and then resurrected into glorious light, and then after that, every day there's
On the
more light
25th.
on the 25th, and then
Yeah.
after that, every day there's a little more light, a little more light, a little more light, and that you don't even notice the light coming back into your heart and your life. But the winter solstice slash Christmas is really nature's reflection of what should happen in our hearts, of a
Mhm.
death to self and a resurrection as Christ consciousness. And then Easter really is more of, that's kind of more Jesus's birthday time.
Yeah.
So we really live in the upside down. Truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Stranger Things is onto something. It is the upside
Uh-huh.
down. Yeah. And that's one thing I did appreciate in the Episcopal Church because they do follow the liturgy. So it is a little more, in line with like the natural rhythm of things because there's Advent, which leads up to Christmas. So it's about
Yeah.
withdrawing and reflecting during that time leading up to Christmas, which Christmas, like we've said, coincides with the winter solstice, which is the longest night of the year, but it's also the point at which light returns.
Yeah.
So, Advent is about the withdrawing and the reflecting. The winter season is being embraced during that time. So it's the right spirit. And then Christmas on the 25th, and then running through I guess it's 12 days after. That's, the Epiphany, up to the Epiphany. So there are 12 days of Christmas, and they begin on the 25th. But see, most people start celebrating Christmas as early as, well, Thanksgiving. In our
Mhm.
culture, it's just like they blow right past the Advent because who wants to go inward? Who wants to rest in stillness and face their shadow elements? Nobody wants to do that. So we blow right past Advent, and as soon as Christmas Day is over, people are pulling their decorations down. They're done with Christmas, but that's just day one.
Mhm.
That's Christmas day one. We have 12 days of Christmas leading up to the Epiphany. That's when the tree should be, I don't know, taken like you said, upside down. Everything is so distorted.
Yeah. You
Learning that makes me feel better that my tree is still up, because
Yeah.
today we're recording, what is today? Before
Yeah.
What?
15th,
Uh,
14th. Anyway, too
yeah.
long for my tree, but not
No, we're
really.
past
So
the
thank
Epiphany,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
But y'all wanna
It's
hear
okay,
something
though.
something pretty crazy? We're talking about the upside down. Well, we're about to really jump into the upside down now. So, back before the Romans, there was 13 months. There was not 12 months. Every
Yep.
month had 30 days. So just imagine how screwed up we are now. Imagine what year it is now, really. Like if you took like if you kept following that, like the original 13-month year, 30 days, no 31, 32, 30, 30, 28. It's just 30 for 13 months. Imagine that, like where we would be, what year this would be technically, I mean, without the Romans coming in and putting in, like, look at the months of the year. We'll just say October. October is for Octavius, the emperor of Rome. So, I mean, if they're able to dictate to us our time and our calendar and confuse us the way they did, I mean, just imagine how kind of upside down we're in, you know?
We don't even know what year it is. Li-
Yeah.
We're just out here floating on a rock. We don't even know what year it is.
Because
Yeah.
the Romans
Well,
thousands of years ago told us because Octavius wanted October, it needed to be 31 days, you know?
yeah. Yeah. Well, lucky for us, time is an illusion, so
That's right.
Right,
it doesn't
exactly.
even
It's
Yeah.
a
matter.
matrix
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Well,
It is.
it
That's
was when
right.
I was learning all this stuff, the pieces really started adding up. Like, wait, like the Roman Catholic Church or the Roman Empire, same thing, really. So they mess up our calendar to mess us up, and then mess up our holidays to mess up our spiritual connection to God, and then messed up our this, that. It keeps going on, and you kind of realize, where does the problem start?
Mm.
And
Rome.
and that's
Yeah,
kinda where I think people need to be
All roads lead back to Rome.
looking for their own rabbit hole diving.
yeah. Because, like you were saying, both of you have said the spring equinox is the natural new year because it aligns with that, with life restarting. And that's when everything's blooming. Like you said, the animals are coming back to life, all the hibernation is over with. Animals are actually giving birth during that time. So everything
Mhm.
is
Oh,
about
yes,
new
they are.
life. Yes, they are. And then January 1st is that is just the calendar new year. So it aligns with the systems restarting. So it's very
Yes.
much a matrix, systemic kind of new year. And for
Yeah.
most of human history, the new year did begin in the spring because of that balance of light and darkness back, our bodily rhythms, even psychologically. We feel more motivated and restored and energized during that time of year. So we're being asked to step out and take action during a time of year when our bodies are protesting, our psyches are protesting because everything in us is needing to be restored right now, is needing to rest.
Yeah.
And I recently learned of a tiny remote island somewhere. I think it's in the Atlantic Ocean, somewhere in that area. I can't remember the name of it. But they don't live by clock time. They simply live by the natural rhythms. And when people visit that island, they hang their watches on the harbor before they enter
I
because there
saw
are no
that.
clocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just love that. I'm like, can we all just hang our watches on the harbor and be done with these clock times, the
Yes.
calendars and everything? Because it's about structure to serve like taxation and bureaucracy and systemic control. That's
Yeah.
that's all it is. It's man-made calendar time, and it is not serving us well.
No, it was to keep track of numbers for military and
Yeah,
systems and all the things, taxes, exactly like you said. Because, I mean, if you can start off on day one of this
yeah,
year, I mean, heck, that's a lot easier than, I guess you're just picking that date, as that's the start date, So,
yeah,
Did
yeah.
they,
Because it that makes the start of like official duties.
right,
So it's
exactly.
yeah, it's like yeah. That's why we feel so misaligned.
oh, yeah. Just looking at the flowers and the trees make it really obvious too. The animals, all the
Mhm.
things that don't wear a watch, all the things that just follow the spirit, follow God, follow the universe, follow Mother Nature, and it's all the same thing. We're all, to me, we're all just players in the mind of God who forgot that. And when you get out of the rhythm of the mind of God, the rhythm of nature, now you've separated yourself from the awareness that you're even in the mind of God, and now you're really in trouble. But you did it to yourself. And if you just stop and literally stop and look at the flowers, like what do they do? When do they open? When do they go within? Well, you can do the same thing, and that's really important for your becoming, just like the flowers, just like the trees. You shed your leaves in the fall, you winter through the winter, and then in the spring, you come out as something new and better and stronger.
Yeah,
And,
that's very
and,
well said.
and it would just make sense for the new year to start on the spring equinox.
Mhm.
There's a spring equinox too.
'Cause shouldn't the year start when life begins every year, not in the dead of death winter?
Yeah,
Right.
beginning when it's dead, besides beginning when it's alive. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I think people, though, we're remembering, we're waking up, we're not as sleepy as we used to be, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Instead of making New Year's resolutions, we should be taking inventory, letting
Mhm.
go of what's no longer serving us, aligning ourselves,
Yeah.
sitting in silence in that dark liminal space, waiting for the return of light, like all of nature is doing right now. So, yeah, it's just counterintuitive, the world's way of operating, and it's really pervasive. It's really hard to even break free when you know the difference, and you're intentionally trying to break free. Is still difficult because the whole world, that the momentum of the world is pulling us into that. So we have like family and friends and things like that are pulling us into that activity, into the like the Christmas traditions and the things that you've always done with family. And so it's really hard to break from that. But I think it's worth our while to be intentional about it,
Yeah.
and at least break from it in part, if not fully.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think as if you can hold a space in your head or in your heart, like Christmas is time that everybody celebrates Jesus. You know, we can celebrate Jesus, but I know in my heart that Jesus was not born on December 25th. He was born into life, into the spring equinox,
Yeah.
not the winter solstice, which is the winter equinox. That's where like Annalise says, where the moon goes down into the tomb for 3 days, and then on the 25th it rises up back into life. So as above, so below, it makes sense for Jesus to be born into the spring equinox of life.
His
Yeah.
life is such an example for our spiritual path. Like in the winter, that's when you crucify your soul. That's when you give up the character. Like, all right, I'm going to remind myself this winter, I'm not Annalise. That's what we call me here. That's my character. But I'm going to remind myself that's not me. Kill her off in my mind and let Christ, the spirit of love, be born as my awareness again, remind me again. And then between then and spring, may it be building and festering and getting ready to boom, come, Easter, quote, quote. Now we're springing forth new life. And as a person, as an individual, every year, just renewal every year, just like Jesus's life. But you don't get to see those cool connections when you're taught a bunch of lies.
Yeah.
So, but when you can
Yeah.
really sit with those connections, it's amazing. And the way everything is one, the way the stars do what the earth is doing, what our souls are doing, what Jesus did, what many, many, many things and things and things do. It's just beyond amazing and magical, and a really cool time of year. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And what you were saying, Parker, about, oh, well, we can celebrate the birth of Christ now, even though we know it's in the spring. That's totally true. We could celebrate Christ anytime, anywhere,
Yeah, exactly.
obviously. But it's how do we celebrate? And I think that mainstream Christmas does not really honor Christ.
No
It's
way.
it's just
Yeah.
some mishmash of all these, like Santa Claus
It's
is
for
thrown into,
toys.
we have
Yeah.
Santa Claus and we have, and then we have our church services, which are also not very Christ-like, in my personal opinion. I don't know, nothing about it is about having Christ born in our hearts. It's all about consumerism and,
Yeah.
and the calendar time, man-made calendar time. So, yeah, and then, as far as Santa Claus goes, there was traditionally like a Krampus too, wasn't there? There was like
Yeah.
yeah, but we cut that
Like
right
a
out because we
like a
don't want we don't want
like an
anything
evil
like that.
counterpart to Santa or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Yeah, I just recently, like, I've seen Krampus, references to Krampus over the years. I never really, but I recently this year read something about Krampus. It's frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like an evil counterpart, and kids were told, "If you're good, Santa Claus will come and bring you gifts, but if you're bad, Krampus will come
And
and he
eat you.
will he'll yeah, like, he'll bring switches and he will, like, spank you with switches, put you in a sack, and tote you off into the woods and just, like,
Oh
leave you in
my.
the wilderness in the middle of the night." Yeah, it's horrific,
That's what
so
we
that
need
was
to
some
tell our
That would
kids
yeah.
work well with
next
our kids,
year.
yeah.
That'll make them good boys.
Yeah. Yeah, forget coal. There's
Yeah, right.
Krampus.
Forget
It's
it,
Yeah.
Krampus.
Cole.
He brings the
Man.
coal.
Yeah.
I think
Wow.
too, the contrast in church Christmas and true Christmas, is in the church culture, and I've just spent every Christmas in church except for the last one, truly. You're taught that it's kind of a time to feel really guilty. Like
Mm.
God had to send his own son as a baby in a manger because you're so disgusting and he can't
Yeah.
look at you and you're so sinful. Look at this is so sad. You need to just be thankful, just that you're so wretched. But what the whole point was that God's son may return in you too, in
Mm.
everyone. That's Christmas. May the Spirit of God awaken within everyone and be born again in everyone. It's not about praising Jesus's birthday, although that's nice. He wouldn't want it. That's not what he was about. He was about reminding everybody, no, you're supposed to die to yourself and then rise again. And the same thing, in your own soul.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's just not at all the message that is translated all over the world.
Well, if we're
Yeah.
being honest, I think everybody's favorite parts of Christmas are Santa Claus, lights, cookies, Christmas cakes, Christmas shows. If you take all that away,
Mm.
does anybody have a Christmas? I mean, really?
That's what I'm saying. It's getting so
Yeah.
commercialized.
Yeah.
Are you really celebrating the birth of Christ, or are you just participating in a pagan tradition of a mishmash of Santa Claus, Christmas trees, Yule logs, all of that stuff?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For
And it's also
comfortability.
it is about the incarnation of God. And that's the thing too. The birth of Christ is the incarnation of God. And we are all incarnations of God. God within all of us.
Yeah.
And that's what Jesus reveals with his life. So yeah, I think that's also a part that's often missed. It's like the birth of Jesus, an external Jesus was born, and we worship Jesus, an external person, a reflection of God, and that we are all these worms. We're unworthy, like you were saying, Annalise. But no, I mean, really, the true spirit of Christmas is that God is born in all of us. God is
That's
within
right.
all of us. Yeah,
Yeah.
And that's what does stick around at Christmas, I think, is people tend to carry more of a spirit of love. Like that's what the little glimmer that remains. I do notice humanity seems to carry more of a jovial spirit of giving and love at that time of year. So in
yeah,
a way, there's like still whispers of what that time of year, really means. Um, but but yeah, God, Jesus, like you said, Jesus is not an external baby in the sky. Jesus is the spirit of God within you too. And if you
yeah,
don't wake up to that, then you missed Christmas. I mean, you missed
yeah.
it. Really.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Jesus, he didn't care. Yeshua, there was no J back then. So Yeshua or Isis, whatever translation you want to use, he did not come down here to be worshipped for his birthday. No, that's not why he came here. He came here to show when you are put on the cross and you are crucified, you can rise above it. And that's exactly what he did. He resurrected from death, because in this world, if you are connected to God, everything is possible. That's what they say in the Bible. That's what they say in the Course in Miracles. And I mean, yes, he died on the cross, and that was horrible. But what he says in the Course in Miracles is that it wasn't necessarily for your sins. It was for to show you you can overcome anything, and death is not the final thing, the final blow to you as a spirit. If you die, yeah, Parker dies, yeah, or you, but the spirit within inside of you does not. So I just thought, I think that's pretty important for people to understand, because everybody, like Emily says, is like, oh, Jesus was born in the manger and he came here to free you from you being a horrible, disgusting person. And now look at him. He's on the cross. He's dead because of you. And it's like, what? Like,
And we're telling this to our 6-year-olds in Sunday school too. you know, it's
Yeah,
just it's rough. It's rough stuff. That's not the real message.
yeah, I mean, Jesus came to show that like God is within you. And when you are within God, like if you and God are just there and you're trusting within God, you're not trying to control things because of your ego, but you're just kind of riding the wave. And I've had to learn this a couple times.
We learn it over and over and over and over
Yeah,
again.
and until you just ride the wave and trust, I mean, you become the ego and you try to control things and things get misaligned and all things kind of start to feel out of whack and everything else. But if you just ride the wave, you'll see like there's a lot more synchronicities. There's a lot more magic that happens. Well, not magic, but you know
It
what I
is
mean? It's like,
magic.
yeah,
yeah,
Magic is real if you can just let yourself see it.
yeah,
But to
yeah,
see it, you have to get in line with nature slash the Christic path slash love slash gosh, there's so many names for it. Just being love. Um, like I've said before, I think Buddhism and Jesus mixed together just make a real beautiful little path to follow. If you can kind of find that balance where you're out of the dogma, but you've got the peace and you've got
mhm,
the and you understand. You
yeah.
understand.
And then like the
yeah,
Course in Miracles is talking about how like the crucifixion represents the atonement, but the atonement is the oneness of you and God, not the you got forgiven for all your sins of your life.
mhm,
So
yeah,
it's very interesting to
yeah.
me.
Yeah, when you were speaking about that before, Parker, I was thinking, the crucifixion is certainly a part of it. And so it's not that we cut that out or diminish
Right.
what that was about. The crucifixion was definitely a part of the trajectory of humanity's redemption, you could say, but not in the classic traditional sense that most of us are taught.
Hmm.
But we get hung up on that, the crucifixion. Even like Catholic crosses still have Jesus crucified. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that was part of the story, but Jesus is resurrected. And so I feel like we often live in the crucifixion, in the self-abasement and just keeping ourselves kind of fixated and focused on, oh, we deserve to die. And I mean, death is certainly, a part of the process and it's that we move through that, but we should move through that with our eyes fixed on resurrection. Jesus did. When he went to the cross, he knew that there was resurrection on the other side. He had faith in that. And so I think that as we do our own inner work, our shadow work or whatever, death is certainly a part of the process, but we should move through it with our eyes fixed on resurrection. Otherwise, we just get stuck
Yeah.
and stagnant, I think. I
Yeah.
don't know. That was just
Absolutely.
That's
a
beautiful.
thought.
I
Yeah.
totally believe that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. And something else, not to kind of shift away, talking about Christmas and the birth of Christ, but something else I've been seeing a lot of posts referencing the shift from the year of the snake to the year of the horse. Have you guys seen
A
some
Yeah.
of
lot
that?
of that, a lot of
Yeah,
that.
Is that the
yeah,
Chinese
because
New Year or the Lunar New Year? Or
it's
both?
both. Yeah, it's
Both.
both
Okay.
because in Chinese culture, the calendar follows the lunar cycle. So the new year
Ah,
begins in February. I think it's the 16th, but I could
gotcha.
be wrong about the date. So, yeah, but the year of the snake is about transformation because snakes are symbols of transformation with the shedding skins, and they also point toward divine wisdom. Like, the serpent in the garden was dispensing divine knowledge. So
Mhm.
it was a year of bringing things to light, insights, shedding
Mhm,
the things that no longer align, and we're heading into
mhm.
the year of the horse, which is about action and direction, breaking free of constricting environments. So it suggests that maybe we're moving into something more liberating in 2026. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Me
I'm
too.
super excited. I feel it in my bones.
Me too.
Yeah.
I know it in my soul. I see it in the stars. I see it in the Facebook posts.
Yeah.
Really, so many snake to horses, but it's comforting because it reminds me this past year, the winter especially, it's felt like such an unraveling, but it wasn't a collapse or a demise. It was preparation and it was shedding of things that don't serve so I can step into
Mhm.
what does. And I think a lot of people have felt that in an extra uptick this year.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we're all connected. We're all one. We're all going to feel the same things to some degree when it's collective. So I think this new year, yes, I agree. I think it holds such good things, not just because I think that, but because of everything going on above, below, and within. And
Mhm.
and if you're listening to this, you probably feel and know all the same things. Um, I think this year we're not gonna be the same after this year, but in a great transformative way, which transformation can feel uncomfortable. But I think it's like the year of the horse. It's like a racehorse, transforming. It takes a little bit of pain, a little bit of training, a little bit of work to to really take off. But we're taking off, like whether we're ready or not, we're taking off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, like y'all have said, the year of the snake was all about preparation for the year of the horse, but the snake, everybody that I know, at least, and I'm sure everybody listening to this podcast has felt in some way or another a call to level up. I'm sure you have because I don't know anybody who hasn't. But you even look at things from like a or a planetary lens. The sun bombarded the earth with uh, plasma ejections that I've been telling y'all about that has been raising this earth's frequency for over a year now.
Mhm.
That whole year in 2025 was like the most solar activity in forever, for like in recorded history. So you have that going on. You have everybody kind of feeling this like, I don't know what's about to happen. Something's about to pop off. I better level up. They got that feeling going on. we had all in 2025 these huge major lunar eclipses and solar eclipses and all these like
Mhm.
crazy astrological signs in the sky. That sounds a lot like God to me, really. So
Yeah.
it's just like everything just kind of just points towards, that was the year 2025. And now we're moving into the year of the horse, which is we're shedding that skin, we're shedding our dead self, our dead ego
Mhm.
that it tried to control every living thing, tried to just control into demise pretty much. We're going to let that go and step into our oneness with God. And then it's going to take off like a racehorse, and that's what this
Yeah.
lunar cycle is all about. The year of the horse is everything that you put in preparation is going to come, it's going to kickstart, it's going to start going. Everything all the seeds you planted last
Mhm.
year.
I think
Yep.
too this year might be, yes, it's the year of the horse, but it still, the collective has to do its shedding. As a collective,
Mhm. Mm.
collectively shed the systems that don't work for us anymore, collectively
Yeah.
shed the rulers and powers that don't work for us anymore, collectively shed the stories and narratives that we know are no longer
Mhm.
true, collectively collect, because if we don't do it collectively, we don't do it at all. And the
Mhm.
reason you feel it individually is because we're all one and we have to do it together.
Mhm.
But that
That's
might be uncomfortable this year, but it's good. It's really good. And it's heading in the right place, I really feel. What do you
Yeah.
think, Brandy?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up because I was sitting here thinking the same thing that all through 2025, it's like people were having huge aha moments. People who had their heads in the sand were suddenly, I noticed, able to see some of the corruption but the systems, the systemic corruption.
Yeah.
It's been coming to light, and more people are waking up to it, and just seeing through the lies and the big veil that's been over everything for so long. So all of that, the systemic flow is not working for everyone anymore. People are beginning to
no.
wake up, to have, to ask questions, to push back, to realize the need for their own sovereignty, their own authority. And I mean, we're not completely disconnected from it. Obviously, it's a process, and that shedding process is very painful too. I've had several people contact me, people that I've known for years, but we sort of went different paths, and Granny crossed and began to reach out from the other side and things like that. I guess it was just too much for them.
Yeah.
And so they didn't, cut me off. I won't say that, but we just haven't had contact. We just don't talk a lot anymore because our paths were just different. They were still plugged into the church, very much, in that, evangelical conditioning, even politically, just very still connected to the system, the political system. And I am very not connected to any system. I'm very much about, I don't want to be controlled and manipulated by any system. I want sovereignty and authority in my own life. I want to come into alignment in a way that, that Christ is born in my heart, right? And it can't happen if you are being controlled by the powers
Mm-mm.
that be. And so, anyway, there was just a dissonance. But I have had several of those people reach out to me randomly, just out of the blue, who I haven't spoken to in years, not really like one on one, and with concerns about certain political or religious issues that are pressing on their hearts. And they all convey the same thing, that they are deeply grieved because things that they have been taught to believe their entire lives seems to be a lie. And there are things that seem to be evil that are being exposed, that it's really upending their belief system and the way that they have structured their lives. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not pleasant for people. The
Yeah.
shedding process very much strips you down to a point
Mhm.
where it can leave. And it's perfect that we're in this wintering season, really, because it leaves you in a wintering. A time, whether it be in the actual season of winter or not, is a time where you need to withdraw and you need to reflect and you need to not be surrounded by crowds of people or plugged into groups, because you need to recalibrate and realize what is
Mhm.
true for you,
Yeah.
and what lies have you been fed that you need to
Mhm.
break away from. Anyway, I said a lot, But, I definitely feel that on a collective level, the year of the snake was doing its work because
Mm,
I've talked to people who I know it's happening in them, and they're not people who are consciously out there trying to be awakened in that regard. They weren't, tapped into that previously. It's like
mhm,
it just suddenly came to light and pulled the rug out from under them.
yeah.
Yeah. And, piggyback on off of what you just said, like we've talked about duality all throughout our show and, transformation and, leveling up, it doesn't come from being in the light per se. It comes from when you're feeling introspected or you feel like you're in a pressure cooker or you feel like,
Yeah.
this isn't me. I can't be like this anymore. Like, this is not me. Like, I'm not going to live like this forever. I got to change. That's a lot. That's when people change. People don't change when they're like, my life is so good and I'm the
Yeah.
best thing ever. It's like, no, yeah. So it's okay to feel like you're in a pressure cooker. Like if you feel like this is horrible, like this is, a pressure cooker, like that's what it is. It's everything's a test too, so
You should feel
Mhm.
like that. If you don't feel like that, you might not be truly alive right now.
Yeah.
What you
Yeah.
said, deeply grieved, really touched my heart because that's the feeling when you find out the way you were raised or programmed or taught really had no value at all. You have nothing to hang your hat on, but that's the exact place you need to be to let that spirit of love live through you. Is you
Mhm.
need to realize you got nothing to hang your hat on and you never did. It was always
Yeah.
a lie. I know it seems depressing, but like if I could shift into my like mommy mode and like comfort humanity mode, I would say what I said to my son last week. He's been having such bad growing pains at night in his legs, around his knees, on his shins, waking up in tears, taking baths. And he said to me, he said, Mama, why does it hurt so bad? I said, I remember that feeling. And I remember thinking, this is never going to end. I remember that ache. And I told him, it hurts so bad because growing hurts. Growing hurts, and you have to stretch and crack and grow and be uncomfortable. And for a time, it feels awful, but it's just for a time. It's just for a time, and we really are all headed in the right direction, whether you whether you want to be or not, whether you're aware of it or not.
Mhm.
It's all headed, I truly believe, in the right direction for the collective's highest good. And definitely feels like I would call it the second coming of Christ part of history, 1000%. But I don't mean Jesus on a cloud. I mean Christ in every heart and every living thing.
mhm.
Mhm. 100% because impermanence, and that's something in Buddhism that I think is,
Mhm.
largely missed in our Western minds, but the idea of impermanence, because every moment, every breath is a death and rebirth, right? And so impermanence, they live with that front and center, and they realize that, if something is awful, that's okay. It's impermanent.
Mhm.
It'll pass. Everything's transitory. If something is wonderful, well, also enjoy it while it lasts because,
It'll
every
pass.
moment is transitory.
Yeah.
But when you live with that at the forefront of your thinking, you live with your hands opened, and that's the posture, right? That is the
Mhm.
Christ-like posture to be down and open and not clinging and not forcing outcomes and not trying to have control, right? Because like you were saying, you never had anything to hang your hat on. Control is an illusion. It's my favorite illusion, but it's an illusion. So, if we don't consciously come to that realization and let go on our own, we'll be forced. The issue will be forced, and
Oh, it
that is
will.
way more
100%.
painful. Yeah.
Yes, it
Yeah.
will. And I'll just say, like, I've had that happen myself pretty recently where it was just like one of those moments where I was like, I have to level up. And when I say that, I mean, like, I don't like the way I am right now. Like, I need to change before I'm stuck like this. That's what my mind frame was at the
Yeah.
time. And, it's
Yeah.
kickstarted me on not a different, but on
Yeah.
a better growth journey, like more of a growth, and what you were saying about your friends, being kind of distraught about like what they've been taught and maybe it not all being like that. I would just say maybe to people like that, the same Jesus or the same God that you've pictured your whole life, whether it be in the sky or wherever you've pictured him. He is within your heart. You literally can just trust and ride the wave, and you will see such transformation compared to clinging to a story that was half fabricated thousands of years ago. Like, and I'm not trying to sound down. Like, I just want people to know, like, Jesus said, God is within you.
He
He
Mhm.
said
didn't,
the whole kingdom's
the
within
whole
you.
kingdom is within you.
Yeah.
And you can make heaven happen here by trusting in that, or you can cling to things or go looking externally and never find it, you know?
I think collectively we're done living on in the hell frequency, and it's time for the heaven frequency, the bring heaven to earth, the 1,000 years of peace, whatever you wanna call it. It's time, and, it's gonna come, but it does take that shedding of the snake. It doesn't
Yeah.
just come magically with fairy dust, it is a continual becoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a
And that
big year, though.
Yeah. And that's grace in and of itself. I mean, people think about grace and they think it's just something light and fluffy. Like, oh, we're all just forgiven. That's grace. No, the grace of God will upend you. It will not let you stay anywhere that is not for your highest good. And
Yeah.
so, and like you were saying, growth is painful. Evolution is painful. And so we have to evolve, right? So if we get stagnant, the grace of God will stop us in our tracks and will upend us. I say all the time, all of life is designed to awaken you. And it
Mhm.
is,
Mhm.
just try to hang on to something that's not for you too long and see if you don't suffer.
Oh my gosh.
But
Yeah.
that's the
That's
grace of God. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole work is learning to, like, not hold on to a single thing, not a single moment, not a single sensation, nothing, just be here now,
Yeah.
and it's when you be here now that you fall into the awareness of God, of unity, of love again. Um, the whole thing with these surprise puppies was such a as above, so below thing for me, and I had this revelation as I was caring for the puppies the other night, and it was like the voice of spirit in me was like, "Annalise, don't you get it? It's all just labor pains. Everything you've been going through, these have been labor pains." Just like our dog Ripley, she couldn't get up. She probably thought that'd go on forever. She didn't know, but because she's nature, she trusts. And it
Yeah.
didn't go and then here are these gorgeous new life, and they brought joy into our home that we really needed it. And, but that was the as above, so below, as within, so without for me. It was collectively and individually, this season, it's just been labor pains. Hold on, we're almost to the new life and to the birth.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, because everything is cyclical. And we, when those labor pains come upon us, they're not pleasant. But when you see the big picture, when you live in the resurrection or with your eyes fixed toward the resurrection and the reality of impermanence, that oh, everything's passing and we're headed towards something greater. And you know that it's all for your highest good, that God is within you, just drawing you into your highest and best self, then you're able to relax into it a little more. That doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. It just means you don't suffer. And that's the thing, our suffering is in our resistance to what
Yes.
is, and so, yeah, things are painful, but you only suffer if you resist.
That's
Mhm.
right.
So, and
Yeah.
just like dogs, they don't resist, right? They give birth and they move on with their lives. I mean, they're giving birth one moment, and the next moment they're nursing puppies, and they're just yeah, they're not in their heads about it.
It's wild. It's wild. Even down to when they lose one, they take a
Yeah.
moment, they notice it, and then they move on, and they don't
Yeah.
hold on to that, and that kinda thing is hard, but people, we hold on to everything, and we
Oh,
make
yeah.
ourselves suffer, we squeeze the living essence out of every moment, and then think every next moment will be better, and if we could just get to the next moment, we'll feel okay
Mhm.
there, surely, but
Yeah.
it's you're never gonna get to the next moment and then feel okay, it's now. It's
Yeah.
released now, and be Here Now, and that's a book I'm reading and loving is Be Here Now, by, Ram Dass.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Great.
these are it's all labor pains, baby. It's all
Oh,
labor
yeah.
pains.
Yep. Life is one big labor pain. That's what we can take away from today's message. Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you guys have anything you want to add as we close out today? Anything you want to leave with our listeners?
I would say I just wanna tell people depression and heaviness are normal right now, and that's okay, and don't resist it and fight it. It'll make it worse. Jesus had to withdraw, nature has to withdraw, you should have to withdraw, and your depression might just be telling you, "Withdraw, please. Go within. Get out of the crowd. get out of the cycle. We're getting ready for new life. So just hold on. If you're in the dumps, if you're in the dark, just hold on. Because every day there's going to be a little more light now. Every single day. Until one day you wake up and I don't know, then the sun doesn't go down till 9 o'clock and you think, what happened? When did all this start? Well, every day it's a little better. So just keep going, hold on. It's going to be a great transformative year. It really is. I know it.
Yeah. I would just say, I've said it a couple times already, but just try and let go, just let go of whatever is going to bring you any kind of, you know, attachment, whether it be, I don't know, you don't like your job. All right, well, just ride the wave, look for something, do something that makes you happy, or if you're nervous about a test, just prepare and ride the wave. You don't have to have attachment to everything. You don't have to have your hands on everything. You don't have to control everything. Everybody wants to try to control something. And when something doesn't go the way of their control, then they spiral out of control. So just ride the wave is the main thing I would say from this episode.
Yeah, I love that. Be open
Yeah.
to God's intervention. See,
Yeah.
when we have our hands on the controls, we're not leaving any room for divine intervention to be
Right.
surprised by something even better.
How's
So
he
I love
gonna
that.
how's he gonna steer you if you're the one gripping the steering wheel like, a madman,
Right. Yeah, totally. And yeah, I guess my advice would be kind to yourself, right? Step out of that busy and just embrace stillness right now. And like Annelise was saying, a lot of the depression this time of year, I think it really is that dissonance that causes the depression because you feel an inclination to be still and to be silent and to rest. But all of life is telling you to hurry up and get busy and make your declarations for the new year and your resolutions and all of those things. But yeah, no, just listen to yourself, be kind to yourself and rest if that's what you need. And that's it really. Just opt out of the insanity of mainstream conditioning.
Yeah.
Opt out. I will not be attending. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's perfectly fine to say. It is.
RSVP. I won't be here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't need to lower your vibration to appease anybody.
that's right. Yeah, be true to yourself. That's 100%. Well, before we close out today, we want to let everyone know that our monthly Burrow gatherings are shifting to the first Sunday of each month. Our next gathering will be February 1st at 6 p.m. Central. That's 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to join the Burrow, you may do so through the Patreon link in the show notes. We'd love to see you there. If you enjoyed this show, help us out by subscribing and leaving a review wherever you listen. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend. And thank you all for joining us for another episode of Transcending the Rabbit Hole. As always, cosmic blessings and peace.
Do you ever grow discouraged by the weight of this world? Does Big Brother get you down with all the lies that he's told? Does the gloom and doom of nightly news haunt your dreams? So you scroll instead of sleep, 'cause distraction is key. But as long as there is still a sun up in the sky, I can choose to live on the sunny side. It's somewhere between burying my head in the sand and falling down the rabbit hole again. I was sleeping just fine peacefully inside my American dream, awoken when those puppet strings were cut right off. The evidence you can't ignore, Sheriff call you misinformed. I know the truth, but trying not to lose my mind. I'm somewhere between burying my head in the sand and falling down the rabbit hole again. It takes a worried man to sing a worried song, and the state of humankind had me humming alone. Hello, common sense, I'm convinced we've lost our way, sold our attention to the system. Now there's power to reclaim, but as long as there's a heart beating in my chest, I will cling to hope that's true. I will cast out the rest. There's no price on peace of mind, knowing you won't find it here. It's that perfect love above calling you near. I was sleeping just fine peacefully inside my American dream, awoken when those Oh,